Hello, everyone. This is Phil Yaeger for Yaeger CPA Review. And I want to congratulate everyone who was successful on the parts that they took this past testing window. But what about the people who were not successful? Well, I was one of those people at one time before I did complete the exam. And I do know what it's like to not succeed. It was a blow to my ego. Not eagle, ego. I'm sorry. It was a blow to my ego. Really did hurt, really hurt. And I thought to myself, this is, I spent 6 months taking a review course. And what did I take away? Nothing. Now, back then, you took all 4 parts at the same time. That was in the old days, before any computer-based exam. And you had to pass 2 parts and get a 50 on the parts you didn't pass. Well, I only passed 1 part, business law, and I didn't pass the other 3 parts. So what did I walk away with? Absolutely nothing. And as I say, God, I was depressed. And I remember the day the grades came out. And by the way, back then they mailed you the grades. There was no online where you could just pick up and you found out whether you were one of the successful candidates or not. So I went to the mailbox and, typical, it was snowing, very depressing. All right. I was teaching at a community college and school was canceled that day. And I knew that if you went to the mailbox and your envelope was thick rather than thin, that means they sent you an application to reapply. Or if you got a thin envelope, that means you passed. Well, my envelope was thick. And I took it, I went inside, and I looked at it, and yes, it wasn't good. So, as I said, should I quit? Took 6-month course. What happened to the 6 months? It was a waste. But I had a very good friend that I taught with at the college where I was teaching, and I called him up, and I knew that he would understand, even though he was not an accounting major or a CPA. He knew he was that type of person. I used to commute in every day with him to school. So I called him up and I said, God, I failed the exam. I got the worst results. I didn't pass. I'm going to quit. He said to me, Phil, you can't quit. They made you head of the accounting program. All right. And how will it look not having a CPA and being head of the accounting program? All right. And you'll regret it the rest of your life. And I took those words. And I remember he said, come on over, because he lived quite near to me. So I went over, I spoke with him, and I took his advice, and I went back the next day when I could, after they cleaned up all the snow. And I went back to that same review course that I took. In fact, I looked at the same review course because we didn't have a lot of review courses. Now, obviously, we didn't have 6 months left of that review course. So what happened was I went back to 3 months of it. Now, why 3 months? Because I had to get back into the student mode of studying. So what's the best way of doing it? Go back to a place where everyone is studying for the exam. And I studied. But I'll tell you what it did. I felt it did nothing. And I'll tell you why. All right. The guy said the same thing he did before. And if it didn't work the first time, it didn't work the second time. But I had an advantage. I was able to teach 3 subjects that helped me pass the exam. Now, obviously, you're not able to teach those subjects. But I can tell you, I did not have CPA review books. Whatever I had was the notes from this course. And believe me, they were terrible. They were terrible notes. So I used as my CPA review books, the books that I used to teach the subjects. I taught federal taxes. I taught intermediate accounting. I taught advanced accounting. I taught business law. So here it was. Business law was an individual part back then. So I taught the business law. And I studied that. I studied so hard. Yes, I had to prepare for the classes. And believe it or not, all right, it was a new experience on a lot of those subjects for me. And unlike intermediate accounting, yes, I had taught it, but by teaching it a second time, I learned it even better. Well, as I said, you can't go and teach at a community college right now. All right. You have to do this. You have to get a good CPA review course that follows the blueprints, and you have to study, 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 and you have to make a commitment. You can't just treat this like, hey, I'll study an hour here, an hour there. You have to put in the hours the review course tells you to do, and don't make excuses. But more importantly, get right back into the teaching. No, not teaching. Get back into the studying mode. I keep saying teaching. Get back into that studying mode. All right. And say to yourself, hey, what am I going to do? I'm going to study hard. And yes, this exam is very passable. I'm going to pass. And if you go back, statistics show that 80 to 85% of the people who keep studying and taking the exam will pass all 4 parts. That's an actual statistic put out by the AICPA. That should be encouraging. Now, if you want to, whether you're our students or not, you can call me and I will talk to you and we'll discuss your diagnostic report, and perhaps I can help you and determine what it was that caused you not to be successful. And you can reach me. I'll give you my phone number, and I'm on the East Coast, so it's Eastern time. It is area code 301-874-4900, 301-874-4900, whether you're our student or not. All right, call me, press extension 5, and I'll talk to you. Hey, call me Saturday, call me Sunday. Take a day off, because maybe you need it. You're down, all right? And gather your thoughts, but do not quit. And I promise you, you become a student of mine, you won't quit under any circumstances. So please, please continue. It's a mistake to quit. No matter how bad you may feel today, you will feel better tomorrow, better the next day, and better the next day. So this is Phil Yaeger of Yaeger CPA Review, and I want to wish you all the best of luck. And for those who didn't make it, don't quit. Thank you very much.